Thank you for having me back. I don't know why you guys keep bringing me back. I think I'm not exactly sure. I think it's like my 9th time or 10th time or something. This is my 10th film, 9 of which have played FrightFest, but 2 were Scotland. So, but I know I've come before even when I didn't have a film just because they couldn't keep me away. So I'm like the man who came to dinner. I just never went home.
We should just give you a job here.
Exactly. I'll be an usher. Whatever lets me see the films, I'm here.
So you're back with Victor Crowley. Like a couple of months ago, no one even knew that this film existed. And now it's here. So tell me a little bit about the sort of birth of this project, how it came to be.
Well, when we finished Hatchet 3, which came out in 2013, it was always supposed to just be a trilogy, and I was so happy that it was over because when you watch the behind the scenes and the making of it, we make it look like it's so fun, and we just show everybody laughing and there's blood everywhere. But in real life, it's really hard, and each time we lose a little piece of our sanity and come out a little more scarred. And we each age another like 20 years. So we were really happy when it was over. I think that's something that's really special to this franchise, is that the same core group of people have stuck with it. So we were very happy that Victor Crowley was dead, and I never wanted to see him again. And then I ended up going through just a horrible few years with the loss of my friend Dave Brocky, who was my co-star on Holliston, and then it was like 3 weeks later, our home network got dissolved in a merger, so the show got put in Hollywood purgatory for a while, and then a divorce, and like all within 3 weeks. And so I spent a good like year and a half, which only recently have I really started to talk about how bad it actually got, but I was in and out of doctor's offices, hospitals. It was dark, and right at the tail end of that, when I thought it couldn't get any worse, Wes Craven passed away. As fate has it, like 2 months later, I'm at a convention called Rock and Shock in Worcester, Massachusetts, and George Romero had asked that I moderate his panel, which was just an honor. And as much as I've been friendly with George for 10 years, I'm still a fan. So I'm just in reverence, like, oh my God. Because everyone always says the godfather of zombies, but the godfather of independent cinema. And a lot of people forget that. I don't know if we'd be doing what we do if George hadn't done it first. So during that panel, the fact that he was speaking to me as if I'm also a filmmaker that matters, or even that he's mentioning my films or my contributions, it was kind of hard to accept. And at the end of the panel, when everybody stood up to give a standing ovation, I did the same thing for him, and he was like pointing to me like, "Do you see this?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's look, congrats." And he's like, "No, it's for you too." And I just couldn't see it. And he's like, "Look at all these Hatchet shirts and Holliston shirts and tattoo. How do you not see this?" And he knew what I was going through, and he just took me aside, and there's a photo of it that a fan happened to catch from like the back of the room on a long lens, where he had kind of, as we were leaving, he had put his arm around me and he said, "I'm worried about you. I know you're going through a hard time. You've got to be crazy to not see that what you do matters, and you can't stop." And I was like, "Thank you, but I'm done." And he said, "When are you going to give these kids another Crowley picture?" To George, everybody is kids, and movies are pictures. And I said, I'm not. I'm done. I did what I needed to do with it, and I never want to see Victor Crowley again. And he said, "Let me tell you something. Until you realize that this is now much bigger than you, and it doesn't just belong to you anymore, and until they say it's over, it's not over." And he didn't mean go spend the rest of your life doing whatever the fans say or making Hatchet movies. But to sum it up, he's like, what you do makes people happy, and it's not mean-spirited, and especially right now we need it. So do it. And you know, when George Romero tells you to do something, you do it. And
Yeah.
next thing I know, I'd written the best Hatchet film I'd ever written. And my one thing though was that I wanted it to be a surprise. And so with the 10th anniversary coming up, it was like, how cool if, because everything gets ruined now. There's announcements and then casting announcements and 50 set visits and clips and trailers. And so it was like, if we could just suddenly show it, and that's how we announce it, and then immediately take it on tour. So as soon as people find out about it, it's like a few weeks later, it's coming to your city. Tuesday night, we unveiled it in LA, and it was an incredible, emotional night. When I first said the big news, the audience just stood up. There were people crying. I mean, it was incredible. And I mean, George was right.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal film. The crowd absolutely loved it. George was proved completely right, clearly.
Yeah, always listen to George.
Always listen to George, exactly. So obviously we don't want to spoil anything about this new movie, but what can people expect from Victor Crowley?
Well, we're trying to not say too many details, just so people can go into it as blind as possible and not really know what to expect. But unfortunately, in the press, the word reboot is being used. And I think it's because in the terminology of the press release, it said that the first 3 films took place over like one weekend. This is 10 years later, and it sort of reboots the story. But people hear that word, and so there's rumors that it's a remake of the original. It's not. It's the 4th film, but it does stand on its own. If you've seen the other 3, you're going to enjoy it that much more. But a lot of people in the audience last night had never seen the other 3, and they had no problem following what was happening, which was great to see. But it's very much a return to form. It's the funniest of all of them. Which is what was so special about the first one, I think. The characters, the comedy, the death scenes. Instead of going for quantity and having, I think in the third one there was something like 27 deaths or 30, where it was just like hack, slash, and gunfire and explosions, which was cool because it was the third act of the story. It was the big action thing. But now we got to go back to kind of taking our time, only focusing on, 10 characters and really getting to know them and care about them, and then watching them die in over-the-top horrific ways. And I've been trying to outdo myself with the Mrs. Primadio face rip from the first one for 10 years now, and I think I might have finally, I think I did it. Yeah, judging by the response last night, which is funny because it's a point of contention with the distributor. They're terrified of that death. And they're like, you can't do that. And so it's been great that audiences, that's one of the ones that people are really responding to. So
what was great as well, though, it felt like it had those kind of spectacle sort of death scenes, but also it had a bit more suspense than I remember some of the other ones having as well. Like one moment in particular truly creeped me out, which was brilliant.
That was the one thing that the Hatchet films never had, was suspense. Because they were never really meant to be that. It was about having fun and then gore and spectacle. And in this one, I incorporated some of the traits and things that I used in something like Frozen, like the claustrophobia of the situation that they're stuck in, trying to, instead of it just being in a swamp, narrowing it down to an even tighter location, which seemed to work out great. But to actually add moments to let the audience be scared and make Victor scary again, because he kind of became the hero by 2 and 3, where you were just waiting for him. And as much as this one is called Victor Crowley, I know some people are going to be like, so is the whole movie just about him? Like, why is it called that? But it's more just that he's back, and obviously he owns the movie. No one's going to argue that, especially not to Kane. I think, I don't know, it's weird to say on the 4th one that we made the best one yet, but I think we did, and I don't know how.